Hello, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. I would like to say a big thank you to every single person who has been watching my videos and who has been subscribing. Today, I am going to talk about fasting in light of my neurodivergence. You may or may not know this month Muslims are fasting all over the world, and it's called the Ramadan fast, where we fast for an entire month, 30 days or 29 days, depending. And we fast from sunrise to sunset. So throughout the daylight hours, basically, you're not going to eat anything, you're not going to drink anything that includes water, by the way, you're not going to have physical relations whatsoever. But alongside that, you're also going to stay away from things that are basically bad things like telling lies or being abusive or stealing or cheating, etc. Of course, these are things that you should stay away from at any point in time, anyway, especially in this month because it's considered a holy month. And you're also encouraged to do good things like being charitable, not just in terms of material things, but also in terms of your words, your actions, your demeanor, etc., etc., etc. I know that there has been a lot of research into fasting in general and intermittent fasting and the health benefits of that. But for Muslims, primarily, fasting is supposed to be a spiritual exercise before anything. And prior to now, it has always been a spiritual exercise for me. And I'm saying this because this is my first time fasting while knowing that I am neurodivergent. So the experience now is quite different actually from my previous experiences with fasting, i.e., my experience with fasting my entire life before knowing that I'm actually neurodivergent. So, like I said, prior to now, it has always been a solely spiritual exercise for me, and I benefited a lot. But I never really considered any other health benefits. I never really considered any other benefits other than the spiritual benefits, which is more than enough. Prior to now, I've heard about people who are neurodivergent talking about how dieting helps with dopamine seeking behavior and just a lot of ADHD symptoms, especially that going on a diet, avoiding sugar, avoiding processed foods, etc., really helps with many of those ADHD symptoms that are not desirable. I've never really paid much mind to it. One, because I haven't really invested myself in studying ADHD. Like, I know logically that your diet affects a lot of things about you. I know that logically, but I've never really been able to relate to that or been able to apply it to myself. So even when I've heard about it, I just, brushed it aside as one of those things that people talk about, but isn't actually real. When I started fasting after learning about my neurodivergence, I discovered that the experience was quite different for me. It was surreal in a way that before knowing that I am neurodivergent, I would have chosen fasting as one of my favorite spiritual exercises because I could not tell what was happening with me. I just knew that I was different when I fasted, and I liked the kind of person I was when I fasted. So anytime anybody would ask me what my favorite spiritual exercise was, it would fasting would definitely be the first or the second thing that I would say. And if if you ask me further, I would say, well, I just like who I am. It makes me a better person when I fast. That's what I used to say. Like, fasting just makes me a better person. Now that I'm fasting after knowing about my neurodivergence and being more attuned to that part of me in that way, I think I'm more able to articulate it. I've realized that fasting is giving me the benefits that those people who talked about dieting mentioned in terms of my neurodivergence. And some of those benefits include reducing my dopamine seeking behavior, i.e., doom scrolling and looking for the thing that is going to give me that stimulation. It gives me this sense of clarity. It just helps me to be able to think and to help me actually hear myself think. And you wouldn't know the difference until you get that clarity. You wouldn't know that your mind is cloudy and that your thoughts are all over the place. You really would not know just how cloudy your mind is and just how much you cannot focus until you experience the opposite of that, which is a clarity of thought, which is a clear mind, being able to focus and being able to just, just there's just that calmness in my head space that I love. And it, in a way, I could describe it as being more autistic in terms of just the clarity in my head. And also, I'm able to have the strength to avoid all those dopamine seeking behaviors, looking for the next movie, just scrolling through social media, looking for the next best thing to look at, just doing all that stuff. I'm actually able to study now. And even when I'm not studying, I'm able to actually read important stuff to me, things that are beneficial to me. I'm actually able to learn. I'm actually able to do a lot of things. Like I'm actually more productive now that I'm fasting compared to when I'm not fasting. And it is just an amazing experience. And I realized that I actually used to experience this before I even knew that I'm neurodivergent, but I could not articulate it in the way that I can now that I know what's actually going on with it. So I'm thinking the people who are talking about dieting are actually onto something. I think it would be a good idea to look into some of those dieting tips and tricks that people talk about, whether or not I'm actually planning to act on it. And I think it would be a good idea for me to act on it when I'm not fasting. But if I'm not going to act on it, if dieting is just not for me, it's not for everybody. And it should be for me because I have other like GIT issues that I struggle with, that because of which I have to be selective about things I eat already. So it's almost as if I'm kind of like on a pseudo type diet, but it's not deliberate. It's just I select certain things that I know I have to eat out of necessity. And but even then, sometimes I still eat the things I know I'm not supposed to eat, and then I suffer for it. So I don't know if dieting is actually for me or not. If it's not, if I realize that dieting is not for me, maybe I'll just stick with my fasting and I'll try to fast every once in a while, whether even if we're out of Ramadan, just so I can get some of those benefits that I'm getting now. And it's something that I definitely would recommend to anybody who, you know, might be experiencing or might just want to see. It does have its benefits, physical health benefits. Now I know it has emotional and mental health benefits as well. And that would be in addition to the spiritual health benefits. So yeah, fasting is awesome. That's my conclusion. That is my conclusion.